Welcome to American Exceptionalism on New Right Network with your hosts, Kevin Fobbs and Susan Swift. Get ready to transform your life and have the doors of make-believe media blown away with an hour packed with American exceptionalism founded by faith and fire as we counter liberal political persecution and preach the political gospel while we explore the coming American resurrection. Your voices will be heard. Silence is betrayal. Welcome to American Exceptionalism, and today we're going to tackle this issue about the midterm House meltdown and whether or not that actually is a disaster for America and also for the presidency too. And we're going to look at what that impact will be in terms of the movement for making America great again. So today we're going to tackle and examine actually in a way that you can relate to in a very personal way what this really means for us here in America. So again, Susan, welcome to and myself to the show.
Happy campaign for 2020. It begins today, right?
It begins today. You know, what's interesting about this is that, well, let's look at the record, because I think there are a lot of us out there in America who are looking at the results from Tuesday and saying that, you know what, this is a disaster. But if you want to look at the historic, no, it's not. And look at the disaster starting after World War II. First, look at President Obama, Truman, and also Bill Clinton, because they saw actually the three biggest midterm meltdown elections for their party in the House of Representatives. And this is according to the clerk of the House. So it must be true.
Yeah, traditionally, the whichever party holds the White House suffers losses in the midterms, and they lose House seats. And there's documents of how many House seats Obama lost, and Clinton lost, and Eisenhower lost, all the way down. And they're solid numbers, and they show that actually Trump has lost the least number of seats, and maybe actually even lower than what Reagan lost.
Look at 1946, Susan. After Truman had succeeded the late President Franklin Roosevelt, who died in 45, that the real GDP was declining by 11.6%. Now, again, this president, the GDP has increased, taxes have been lowered, but again, going back to 1946, the Democrats lost 55 seats there, and in 1994, Clinton was in his first term as this president is, and remember his Hillary Care proposal, universal health care.
Oh, you mean Obamacare, but just Hillary, like.
Yeah, it's the precursor to that. Yeah, the Democrats lost 54 seats. Now these losses exceeded the 48 seat loss the Republicans did in 1974. Remember that?
Right. That was Eisenhower, right? Or
yeah. No, wait. The loss exceeded. This is the Republicans. When you take a look at what they've lost under Nixon, because that was important. Remember Watergate? That little misstep.
I think that was also 48 seats.
Yeah, 48 seats, correct.
48 seats.
And he resigned. And again, the GDP had contracted. So I think it's important to understand that the economic problems that we were challenged with in those two elections, 1946 and of course 1974, the economy was in a spiral going down, and this president has been going up.
But even if you just look at just the straight numbers, Obama lost 63 House seats, Clinton lost 52, Eisenhower 48, Nixon 48, Johnson 47, Bush W, he lost 30, Reagan lost 26. And depending on how the dust settles over the next couple of days, recounts or whatever, Trump is looking to lose 26, 27 seats.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you want to, how about we compare Trump to Obama, since Obama was out in Florida at the Gillum rally saying, yeah, that was my economy, and then now I should be taking credit for it, and can you believe that they're doing that, and it should be me, that hysterical thing,
Right.
I mean, he was just incoherent, right? So let's just, he wants to say that it's really his economy, he really got that started, yeah, right.
Right.
All right, let's just compare Obama's House seat loss of 63 to Trump's loss, let's say, 26. So that's like 1/3. So yeah, hashtag winning. Okay, so
yeah.
It wasn't so bad. I mean, I was depressed too. I wanted I wanted to pick up in the Senate, which we did. I think is it 55 or 56? I don't know. There's dust still settling.
2 seats.
Recounts, and we're hanging chads in Broward County like Bush v. Gore. I can't stand it. But at the end of the day, he picked up seats.
Yeah.
And we lost the House, but not by much. And that's really good, because if we hold the Senate, and we've also we've gotten rid of a lot of the rhinos like Flake, and of course McCain he's gone anyway. So we might have more solid. We've replaced the Flake type rhinos with solid MAGA GOP people now.
Right.
So what we have now in place is we have a more reliable Senate who can get the business through that he wants. And the most important thing on the top of the list is judiciary. All of the
exactly.
Supreme, because hopefully we're going to get another couple Supreme Court picks going through. So that we've held the Senate, which is fabulous. And we don't have the House, but you know what? Gee, it's going to be nice to campaign against Nancy Pelosi and the Queen of the Gavel. Won't that just be pleasant? She's back.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting to me, I think the biggest winner besides the president was Mitch McConnell, because remember, he was focused. He was focused like a laser, and unlike the Speaker of the House, who was kind of unfocused. And matter of fact, he made Speaker Ryan called the president on football day, Sunday, and said that you should change your strategy, Mr. President, because you're not really going to win with that strategy in the Senate, and you're hurting us in the House. So I guess
how's that working out for you there? Yeah, Ryan.
Exactly. Exactly.
Although to be fair, it was really I think that the election on November 6th, that was McCain's victory. That's what that was. I think that John McCain cast a vote from the grave, because, follow me out, because he voted against a repeal of Obamacare. He was
the deciding vote.
He was the deciding vote, and he wanted to put a thumb in Trump's eye, because Trump had been very rude to him, and that's why Trump had not acted presidential. Should have buried the hatchet with McCain. So at the end of the day, it's on Trump. But McCain refused to repeal Obamacare when we could, and so we've seen in the election results that healthcare was a huge driving issue, because the cost of healthcare is predictably going up, because we still have Obamacare in place. The only thing that's changed is that the House and the Senate did manage to repeal the individual mandate, but the tax that was funding Obamacare. Well, okay, so now that less funding is coming in the form of the tax, no tax coming in to fund it, what's happening is, to meet the Obamacare requirements, healthcare costs are going through the roof. And so everybody, Joe and Jan America in Missouri and Michigan, they're saying, I can't afford healthcare. I can't afford to pay for this. And they're getting angry at, well, if we had done our job, right, if the GOP had done their job and repealed Obamacare instead of all the footsie of repeal, replace, repeal, partial repeal, all of that, that's what Ryan didn't manage to do, right? Although, I'll take that back. Ryan did send several bills to repeal to the Senate. So here's McCain sabotaging the House. He didn't hurt the Senate, right? But he sabotaged the nation by not repealing Obamacare with his vote. And he's the one posthumously has voted to turn the House over to Democrat hands. So it really wasn't Ryan's fault. It's McCain's fault for the House loss. It is McCain's mutiny victory.
Right. And so it's like he voted twice.
Yeah, he's a zombie. He's a Democrat voting zombie. That's what he is. He voted for McCain.
Now we do have something I think is important for us to know. And looking at the states that we won, Indiana, very, very big victory. First, let's talk about Missouri, because with State Attorney General Josh Hawley, who beat Claire McCaskill, because remember at the end of but the last 5 days, like, who does this? But she's a Democrat, so gotta give her that. But she, in the last, Susan, in the last 5 days, she decided that I guess I got to be more Trump-like. So she started telling, the voters in Missouri that she actually did support the president in terms of the border and to turn those caravans back, and that
Mhm.
she did have some other Trump-like beliefs that just give her a chance and she'll show you.
Right, but wasn't there secret tape? Was that Project Veritas who exposed that her aides were saying, "Oh yeah, well, we have to run as a moderate. We have to run
Well,
that."
that was down in Florida.
That was Florida. Okay.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything with McCaskill that everybody was saying, you know, hey, she's just running as a moderate, but really she's still a true blue Democrat.
I think what they were saying is that she's a loser. Yeah, that way. Probably didn't need anything else
Yeah.
with that. Because you know what? She's run, this is her third run. And she was in a red state. So you know what? It just caught up with her. This is just the reality. It caught up with her.
Yeah, well, I'm glad because we needed her gone. So yay, bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
you know what? And again, we're going to talk a little bit in a second that in those states that we picked up, for example, with her gone, she voted against Kavanaugh. Indiana, Donnelly voted against Kavanaugh. And actually that percentage spread was like 10 points. So Mike Braun really just kicked his butt in Indiana.
Figuratively speaking, because we're not violent people. That's what Democrats.
Oh yeah,
actually do that.
So in his case, he just showed him the door. You know,
That's
exit stage left.
Right. Don't let the screen door hit you on the way out. Right.
Yeah. Now in North Dakota, Heidi Heitkamp. Now we knew that she was going out the door, and I think she knew it too.
I'm just glad because you know.
She lost in the biggest, I think, spread 11 percentage points in North Dakota. And what's interesting about that is Representative Kevin Cramer, who's now the senator-elect, he actually helped bring, sort of like develop the Republican Party out there to make it stronger in North Dakota. And
he's a MAGA guy. He's a MAGA pickup, in other words. So these are all really good, strong MAGA, not rhino squishy voters. So that's Indiana,
exactly,
and North Dakota. We've replaced awful Democrats with really strong MAGA senators. That's huge.
Now,
it's huge.
You know what's equally huge, Susan?
Yeah.
In Florida.
Yes.
Now, those of us who followed the history of Bill Nelson in Florida, he's a Democrat who was shown the door by Rick Scott, Governor Rick Scott. What's funny about that and interesting, they're going to do a recount because he's asked for one, Bill Nelson. What's interesting about that one is that here you have a guy who in the last 15 days to 10 days, Bill Nelson, who was saying, I'm not really a Democrat. I'm more like an independent Democrat, you know, the kind that where I could be Republican like a rhino, but I could be a Democrat.
Right,
I don't, I feel me. I mean, and matter of fact, what's interesting about that too, is that this guy did absolutely nothing in terms of the hurricane that came through. Matter of fact, the president addressed that and said that Governor Rick Scott was always on the phone, calling him and talking with him. And for some reason, Bill Nelson treated that relationship like it was kryptonite. He refused to, let's just say refused. He just didn't do anything. He didn't do anything to help the Democrats. He didn't except vote against Kavanaugh. He didn't do anything to help his own state that was under attack and stressed by the hurricanes. He just did nothing.
Yeah. So he's basically a flaccid Democrat. That's what he was, Bill Nelson, just flaccid. Just sitting there doing absolutely no good for his own party, and he just expected to kind of ride the blue wave, which I'm calling a little blue piddle in a funnel, like that little fountain piddle just right in. That was the blue and flaccid Bill Nelson was there, just sitting, waiting to kind of ride that little blue piddle all the way to victory, and he didn't. And I also noted that. Donald Trump campaigned for Rick Scott. It was a big push for him.
Right.
I think 9 out of the 11 candidates that Trump campaigned for won. So if you were aligned with Trump, and it's not the House races because he can't go around 450, 435.
Yeah.
But as senators and maybe governors, those candidates he could help, and those whom he helped won for the most part.
Right.
and the House representatives that opposed him, like Mia Love and Comstock, the rhinos that said, "Well, I'm offended, and I don't support Reagan, Trump's Reaganite type of ruling, whatever." When they go off on a tangent, they lost.
Yeah.
So it was those who embraced the MAGA message, Trump's message, they tended to win.
Exactly.
Rhinos who didn't, who were the Trump haters, if you would.
Now look at this too, in terms of the president. He had the positive approval in all those states, or in both Senate and governor races that we took in GOP, over 50%. This was based upon exit poll data. And what's interesting too about that is that we know that the president's Trump effect does work. We can see that evidence. As you said, in the House races, some of them, now there's been a couple of them, especially Mike Bishop, who he's a real solid Republican. He lost his race in Michigan. He's a good guy. He was Senate Majority Leader in Michigan. So he was one of those who was a great supporter of the president. Unfortunately, he lost his race in the House in that state. But for the majority of those, as the president said in his tweet, he said that if he weren't with me, well, guess what? Goodbye.
That's right.
So yeah.
People, the Never Trumpers have got to look. We've all got to learn how to win, and Trump has been teaching people how to win elections. Yeah. He's been teaching them, and it is sometimes it's not a lot of fun, but if we're going to actually affect meaningful change in America, we have to win elections first. You can't. I mean, you can't win by being in the minority for 30 years. It just doesn't work. I think long ago the Republicans have forgotten what it was to win. They haven't won much since Reagan's time. This has been a new 2-year experience. It should be a new 2-year high. That wow, we held everything for 2 years, and they should want to continue that. And still yet we have these Never Trumpers who don't. Well, we just don't like his style. Like, yeah, I get that, but wouldn't you rather
it's like
not
style
like
over substance
while you're still in office winning, and so that you could actually kind of make a difference there? Or would you rather not like his style after you're out of office and you can't do anything to kind of help it? I mean, this is the silliness of it, is that, but it's my principles. It's like, well, okay, but if you want your principles to go forward, you have to get into office to make them happen.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Politics. That's the ugly thing about politics.
He taught us how to, I think, as the GOP, he was trying to show Speaker Ryan, how to win. Yeah. And it means to fight. It means to stand up, Brooklyn style. So, I will say Detroit style.
Ryan, he's married to a beautiful Democrat woman. So, the guy's got to go home and sleep with the enemy. So how do you do that? That's a tough thing for him, because he has literally picked his bedfellow. So what, he can't fight. He can't fight.
He can't. Well, you know what? And that's the thing I like about this president. And, we're going to be seeing the mainstream media spin this a million different ways, but the reality is still the same. We won the Senate. And this blue wave.
Oh, we increased the Senate. We didn't just win it. I mean, we've gotten rid of, we've made Susan Collins and Murkowski pretty relevant. They can sit out there and whine and cry all they want. We don't
exactly
anymore.
When I look at winning, it's not just having 51 votes. Winning means that we have 3 or 4 more votes that we can put in our pocket, so that we can push through these appointments, that we can actually push through the president's change in his cabinet as well. And there will be some. We already know about one of them that will be coming very shortly, Sessions.
Which one? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He'll be showing the door, and it's they say in the South, right quick.
Right quick, yeah. You have a box because you need it for stuff on your desk.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Friday's coming.
Yeah, and he'll be exited out the door. But you know what? One of the things too, Susan, is that what happens now in terms of his agenda, and what does that really mean for 2020? First agenda, then 2020 going forward. Because today the race has started.
Oh yeah. Ironically, I think this will be very helpful, because the Democrats have now, they've come back to life. We're going to have, Nancy Pelosi probably a speaker, or maybe not. There are, what's her name? Cortez, the is, she's 29. She's the youngest female member of Congress in ever, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
she is a total socialist. I mean, total. She's from
Yeah.
New York. And she's coming in. And there are other really, really radical leftists, and they're younger. Do you think they're really going to let, an 80-year-old Botox victim continue as speaker?
Yeah.
I don't know. They might be infighting. Interesting what I heard. I was listening to Trump's discussion with the press live just today, and what he was saying was he was suggesting, no, I'm sorry, it was in a tweet. What he suggested was, hey, Nancy Pelosi is going to be the Speaker of the House, and you know what? Maybe some of the people in the House on the GOP side should vote for her. That's strategy, because I think he knows. Look, there might be a nice infighting and a nice battle within the Democrat Party as who's going to be heading the House.
Right.
And wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be just throwing a little bit of a political hand grenade in the middle of that? If the Democrats need help from, some House members to have Nancy Pelosi pull it out and become speaker. I think Nancy Pelosi is a great thing to run against because she's older. She rambles a little bit with her sentences. She doesn't sometimes make sense. And she's also been the face of the Democrat Party for a long time since Hillary's gone. And so that would be helpful to run against. So it'll be interesting if House members on the GOP side help to make sure that Nancy has that gavel again, and that would irritate the young and upcoming radical Democrats who have come in to the House. That'll be interesting to see how that battle plays out.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think what's also interesting is that unlike the Democrats, we have term limits on chairmanships. Okay, so that in terms of committees, you have a term limit, so that it allows for more diversity in the House in terms of Republicans.
We're just so much more ethical, aren't we, than they are? They just power is power them. Interesting.
Yeah. So when you look at this, we had talked about this the other day in terms of what's going to happen. But getting back to this election in terms of the speakership for the House on the Democrat side, the one thing that when you're new, you don't know the ropes. Okay. Right. That means that you can push and pull and put anything over these new guys coming into the House on the Democrat side, because they really don't look at the rules. They just kind of like they're told what to do. Unlike Republicans, we do have like 3 or 4 different types of Republicans that conservatives and everything else in between. So what I can tell you what will happen most likely. You'll see Pelosi, because the new guy, they vote very quickly too. Understand that they move like lightning.
Yeah.
It'll be all
they
done.
Always have their ducks right in a row, which is something that we should have had from the day, very first day when he was inaugurated. We should have had bills. We should have had a repeal bill on his desk on January 22nd, but we don't. We go like molasses in January. The Democrats probably already have Elijah Cumming probably already has his subpoenas all lined up.
Oh, yeah.
He just got to get in office and start signing them and start sending. They do not waste time. I give them.
No, they don't waste time. And one of the things, again, looking at, first of all, she's going to be speaker. I just believe that.
Okay.
Secondly, we have the 4 different committees, and we talked about it on the last show, and that is what's at stake. Well, you have Oversight Committee, Elijah Cummings. You have Madcap Maxine Waters, House Financial Services. You have House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff.
They woke.
Yeah.
That's
they
woke
and Russia. Exactly. And then you got Jerry, who knows who he is, Nadler.
Forgettable. Right, Jerry.
Forgettable.
Nadler. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
So heading up the Judiciary Committee. So you know what? We have 4 people who have all the documents they need in order to attack the president. And we know that they're doing it because they're going to do it every single day. And they've done this. As Republicans, we kind of like wait and see what's going to happen. No, they direct. And so we have to do like the president, and we have to really, really learn what it means to win. It means being prepared. It means being at war all the time. We don't. We think that the other side is going to be polite. No.
We believe this, peace and harmony. And we really need to embrace Reagan's motto, which is peace through strength. And that's what we've got. If we could just mobilize and get this done, get everybody on the same page and say, look, repeal. I don't care. Figure out replace later. Just repeal Obamacare. Get it done. We couldn't. We didn't get it done. It was like herding
Sure.
cats in the House and the Senate. We're not strong. And again, we're not. We didn't have five. We should have had 10 bills on President-elect's desk, and the minute he was inaugurated, he could have been signing these bills. But we're not.
Right.
We have to sit back. We're going to talk about it and feel good. And we don't have a coordinated, militaristic type plan to just get the agenda done. We don't.
No.
We sit around, have
No,
coffee calls.
Right. Here's something too. There was a concern I think most people have been pointing. Go, Susan.
Guilty. But nobody asked me, right? Yeah, God forbid I be in the Senate or the House, right? They wouldn't like that.
You never know. You have to move. You have to leave California.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. You have a spare $5 million just sitting around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because we know in California that wouldn't happen.
No.
Now, speaking of what we do going forward in terms of the markets, because that's a question that many have asked and many have discussed in terms of what happens in the loss of the House now that that's a reality. We saw it actually on Wednesday morning. The Dow Jones opened with a triple-digit surge. Okay,
yeah.
It went up 300. It was a 300-point rally. Now, what does that mean for the economy? Now, historically, again, markets do perform when there's a divided government in terms of
gridlock.
Yeah, and that's an important part. But I think going forward, you also understand that the tax bill that gave your family the boost in your wallet, in your pocketbook, and jobs, they can't do anything to that. Okay,
that's right. That's gridlock. They can't. Democrats would love to repeal it. Pelosi keeps saying that she wants those crumbs back. She can't. They can pass bills all day long, but because we held the House and increased our lead in it, we're just going to laugh and say, yeah, no. And it's never going to be brought up in the House. McConnell knows what he's doing there. So the tax cuts are now firmly in place for 2 years. Everything will exist as it was 2-3 days ago. It will stay like in stasis, like it's all been put in a Jell-O mold. It's going to stay fixed for another 2 years because gridlock. And that's why gridlock is a good thing. And markets like gridlock because the only reason they like gridlock is because it's predictable. They can predict their future for the next 2 years. That means they can predict investments and policy and all that. They already know what's going to be happening for the next 2 years. So they're happy as pigs in mud.
Right. Exactly.
Another Texas expression, sorry.
Well, you know what? That add that special flavor, Susan, that I really admire.
Is that what that I smell?
Down there in Houston.
Just don't ever get me on margaritas because then it's all wild.
Here's a question. Now that we are past the midterms, what does the MAGA movement need to do? And especially now because going forward, we got the 2020 presidential election cycle that began right after, like a second after the close of all doors in ballots across America. So what do you think, Susan?
Well, I wish, I know we're kind of in a lame duck little session right now. Yeah. I wish these dummies in the House and the Senate who were the never Trumpers, I wish they would scramble back to Washington, pass a bill that would fully fund the wall and repeal Obamacare and get that done and say, mea culpa, I'm really sorry, but on our way out, we'll clean this up and do that and put that done. That's me wishing. I don't know if that's going to happen. Going forward, just for MAGA is, yeah, it's Trump's phrase, but it's much bigger than a Trump thing. It is returning greatness to America. It is making America great again. And that is a very positive thing. It is it's a generous, loving thing. We should be happy warriors. We should be gracious and loving and inclusive and positive and show people why it's so much better to have individual control over your lives as opposed to governmental control over your lives. We're going to have to live
Right.
it. We're going to have to demonstrate it. And then the other part of it, I mean, I don't know how we can't change the media. We can't. The
No,
media
no.
is the make-believe media. They make it up. They make you believe it. They are not going to stop their, 92%? You said 92%.
Yeah, 92%.
Negative coverage. So that's going to just be all the time. What we have to do is we have to counter that in every day by talking to people and by raising our own voices politely,
Right.
social media and elsewhere with our neighbors, and being those people that people say, gee, how do you're always so happy all the time. Why? What is it about
Yeah.
it? Why would you register as a Republican or whatever? Reach out to our kids, reach out to our neighbors, things like that show what to live the values that we
Right.
because we don't want poverty in America. We don't want disparity of opportunity in America. We want everybody to have a fair shot at it. And we want everybody, regardless of race, regardless of creed, regardless of anything, we want them to experience and embrace the American dream. We really do.
Right. Right.
And we have to live that. And then we have to continue on a local level, electing and supporting people who are brave enough to run. And those because we have to defend them. We now have to defend every one of those MAGA senators that got in. We have to defend every one of if they're House members who, maybe we did get rid of a few squishy House members. Okay. Maybe we did. But the ones who are left, or if they were replaced by MAGA House members, we need to support them. We need to support them, not just with a handshake, but maybe also by boots on the ground activity, getting out votes for them, because the campaign starts now. We're already in campaign for 2020. Let's take a page out of the Democrats' book. That they start the campaign. They've already started their campaign for the presidency of 2020. They just haven't crowned their victor yet. Whether it's going to be Senator Warren, or if they're going to dust off Hillary again. Please. If she runs, I'm going to do a meme with her on her walker, and her little flag on her walker going, "I'm running for president," because she can't even walk. I mean, she keeps stumbling down. So I'd love to have Hillary running for president with her walker and everything. I'd love that. But we have to start the campaign now for Trump and Pence. I mean, Trump has asked his, Pence, it was very cute, would you be my running mate? And Pence said yes. So it's Trump-Pence ticket. We know that. And we have to go all the way down, and we have to support any candidate that is backing Trump and help them win too. And that's on just an everyday level, and talking about it, not being afraid to speak up for American values.
I love that. I think we should run that little part again and again and again, Susan.
Oh yeah, they'll like that. Drive them to drink, eh? Is that the plan?
I agree with you, and I one of the things that I think is important is I like the state of Missouri, because the phrase "show me," it's more just telling us what the situation is, but show us what it is. Show us the truth. Doing it daily. I love that part.
Who you really are. Show me who you really are. And I've never really liked Trump's, mouth, right? But in everything that he's done, in his policies, in the way that he is executing a plan, he is actually trying to fulfill his promises. In the things that he's done, he's been very conservative. His actions. My dad always said, never believe a man's words, always believe a man's actions, what he does.
Right.
In what he is doing in office, I approve of. I don't like his mouth. But you know what? We need a fighter, because look at what we face every day in the media. I mean, you see Beto O'Rourke, Big Beto, who is against Ted Cruz.
Right.
He dropped the F-bomb in his concession speech. I mean,
that's outrageous.
Classy, keeping it classy, I mean.
Yeah.
Really? But that was, to me, the sneak thing of the night. That was the canary in the coal mine for me. How in the world did Senator Cruz and Beto O'Rourke come within a couple of points? It was 51-48. That should have been a blowout.
Yeah.
That should have been a blowout. There is no reason why Cruz had such a narrow victory. That, to me, is a canary in the coal mine. Whatever Beto O'Rourke did, whether it was, I know he was funding the caravan. Remember, we saw that from Project Veritas. He was giving out basically these cash cards. You know, you can put cash on a card and then you can use that card to buy anything. He was using campaign dollars to charge up these cards and then giving these cards to people in the caravan. I mean, that's got to be some sort of violation of law. But now that, of course, we don't have anybody to investigate it because the house has changed hands, I doubt anybody will follow up on it. But you see that and you go, okay, this is so bad. How in the world did the Democrats fool enough Texans to vote for Beto O'Rourke? How in the world? That's a canary in the coal mine. If they came that close to turning Texas blue, wow, we got to dig deep into what they did in Texas, because that's working. But whatever the Democrats did in Texas, and what we need to do is figure it out. Now, maybe it was because Senator Cruz didn't really support Trump, maybe because there was bad blood and they didn't bury the hatchet. Maybe people, I don't know. I don't know what
because there was a bigger spread, Susan, between the governor who won, and now Cruz. The governor had a big lead. Cruz, not so much. So
I wonder why.
Again, it's a good question.
They ran Beto. Remember, they were targeting Cruz. They targeted him from the get-go because he is a very effective senator.
Yeah.
And so whatever they did, what we need to do is look into that, see what the Democrats did to prop up Beto, who, okay, who is this guy? He's just like, he's like an Obama. It's like he just appears on the horizon and he's anointed. Oh, Beto, he's the best thing. So really?
Yeah.
What? He's a beta male. What I don't know this. Like, what have you got to, and you're going to run for senator? It is really like Obama. Oh, you're going to be senator of Illinois? You're just going to, you're going to smear your opponent with, releasing divorce records. That's how, Obama did it, by unsealing, court records to smear his opponent. But I mean, all of a sudden he waltzes in and becomes, the newest senator from Illinois. This is what Beto, they were grooming him. So they targeted a race and they groomed him and they went after Senator Cruz. Right. That was very smart strategy and effective, as we can tell from the polls and the outcome. That's something to look at, because that's a canary in the coal mine. What they're going to do is they're going to run that same campaign again. We should find out what they did and counter it.
Exactly. Again, be smart.
Free strategic advice. If I were so smart, I'd be rich, right? So.
But you know what, Susan, you're rich with the feeling that rich America.
She talks too much. Like that soundbite. You like that one?
Susan, I think that the nation does well when we stand on the vanguard, actually protecting and examining, because we have to be prepared, not just in Texas, because we have these races in 2020 that we'll deal with at some point, that we're going to have to be defending, just like the Dems had to defend in terms of the 10.
Got to keep Florida. I mean, Florida's always that seesaw.
Yeah. And you know what? In Ohio, very quickly, the Senate still stayed the same in terms of that election, so we didn't pick it up with Renacci, but we did actually keep the state with the wine. So he was the Attorney General. He now is the governor-elect of Ohio. So we have that to be thankful for, as well as in Iowa, the Republican won re-election there. So we have, if you think about it, and then again, not New Jersey. I'm sorry, that went the way of the Democrats. I know. We'll have Trisha on pretty soon.
Yeah, there really wasn't a choice. There was hard left, then there was soft left, and then there was one candidate who was actually conservative and got no airtime.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we'll deal with that one at some point. But I want to close with a quote from Prime Minister Winston Churchill. He made it on October 29th, 1941, and it was just as the war was beginning in World War II, and of course Hitler had already invaded the Sudetenland, and we were not involved yet. We would be involved a couple of months later, in terms of December 7th, that day that will live in infamy. So this is Winston Churchill. He said, "Never give in, never give in, never, 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 in nothing. great or small, large or petty. Never give in, except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy. Winston Churchill, October 29th, 1941. Keep that as part of what we believe in America, and it will help us and steel us against the opposition that is still trying to destroy America and this movement of making America great again. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless America. Bye-bye.